A former National Hockey Leaguer, Texas Stars head coach Derek Laxdal now joins us. How you doing, Derek?
Not too bad, Scott. Pat, how are you guys today?
We're doing well. Thanks very much for dropping by. It's been a while, and it's great to catch up with you once again. But I'm talking to you again because your team's having great success. Now, that series winner by Joel, I think that was his first career playoff goal, was it not?
Yeah, it was his first career playoff goal. We brought him in at the end of the season from Michigan Tech University, and he missed a couple overtime chances against Notre Dame in one of the college games there. So it was good to see him get a little redemption there and bury an overtime winner. And surprisingly enough, he actually scored the goal to get us in the playoffs against Rockford late in the season to clinch a spot. So pretty good feeling for a young player.
What's it like playing in the first round when it's best of 5?
I'll tell you what, you've got to get that first win under your belt right away. And the way the series is set up, it goes 2-3, so you open up the first 2 games in your building, and then you go back to the higher seed for games 3, 4, and 5. But because we were the higher seed, we actually opened up in our building. The way the building dates were set up, they would have had 3 dates in their building. So we split in our building and won the next 2 in Ontario. But it makes things a little tighter, and then you want to get that first win a little quicker in the series, and there's no time for error. You have to be on the top of your game.
Since we're on format questions, I'll ask you the next one. With the 2-3-2, now I played more than I ever wanted to in the American League, so I'm well aware of how this works. If you have home ice, it puts a ton of pressure on you to get something, at the very least, out of those first couple games, because going on the road for the middle 3 is difficult.
Well, it does, and we experienced that last round against Tucson, who was a very good hockey club. We ended up going 2-3-2, and we opened up in their building. We lost the first game in overtime where we had a couple good looks. They were the better team in the 60 minutes, but we were the better team in overtime, but they got rewarded. And then we won game 2, so now we've basically kind of broken home ice. Now we've gotten home ice coming back into our building for free, and we won all 3 games. And it was overtime, then a regulation win, then we clinched it in an overtime win. Now, we did not want to go back into Tucson for Game 6 and 7 because they'd have a little bit of momentum winning Game 5. But we're going to see the same thing here. We're going to open up against Rockford on Friday, Sunday, and then we go back to Rockford. I think it's Tuesday, Thursday, Friday for Games 3, 4, and 5. But I'll tell you what, I don't mind playing on the road. You've heard some coaches talking about it in the playoffs. Every building's kind of the same. I don't mind it because I really don't think there's a home ice advantage anymore. Crowds are loud in both buildings. I like playing on the road because it takes a little bit of pressure off your players and playing in front of the home crowd. So the format doesn't matter to me. You have to play the games, and let's just get on with it.
Hey, Derek, we had Sheldon Keefe on yesterday, and he's kind of reaped the benefits of having Travis Dermott return from that long run he had with the Leafs at the end of the season. Andreas Janssen was a factor for the Toronto Maple Leafs at the end of it, and now he's playing in the Calder Cup playoffs as well. You know, guys like Remi Elie and others that have seen some NHL time, when they come back, do you get the sense that these guys come back as different players? Maybe they've got a little bit more pep in their step just because they've reached the NHL and played a little bit?
Well, they do. You know, we lost Remi Elie the first weekend of the season, so he actually played. I think he played 80 or 81 games for Dallas. So we got him back. They were probably just trying to get him a little extra time in the playoffs, but they settle in after the second or third game. They become a part of a team. Their teammates embrace them again. They embrace the level they're at. And sometimes some players take a little bit longer to get back in the groove. And you know, when they're in the NHL a full year, sometimes they think they're NHLers now, and you've got to have a couple chats with them to kind of get them into the groove of the game. So it's great. You know, if you look at Chicago, I think Chicago or Rockford got 6 players sent down from the Blackhawks and changed their whole identity, changed their whole team. I think we got Dylan Hetherington back. We got Mike McKenna was up. And then the one player that's been up there for a while was Remi Elie. But it's really helped with our depth. It's helped solidify our team. And if you look at most of the teams that are now this deep in the Calder Cup playoffs, they got players back from the NHL affiliates.
How important are the older players that you know, really they know they're not going to play in the NHL? They're American League guys, and you know they kind of set the tone for your team. Who are some of those guys for you, and how important is it to have players like that to make sure that they can help with the younger players?
Well, the year I came in here, the year 2014, Willie Desjardins and his group won the Calder Cup here, and players like Travis Moore and Curtis McKenzie were a part of the group, and Justin Dowling. So they've been through it, and we've had those players all full years. Curtis McKenzie was up in the NHL a little more often, but having those players that have been through it, and especially a guy like Travis Moore. Travis Moore has been here since day one. So he gets it, and those guys are important for the young players coming through. And it's important because they've gone to the Calder Cup finals, they've won a championship, and these guys have been outstanding with the young players. The daily grind, the playoff grind, playing 6 games in 9 nights, whatever it ends up being sometimes. But we're very fortunate. We've got a couple veterans that aren't playing. Greg Rallo, who has been in the American League for about 7, 8, 9 years now, played in Texas before. He's been outstanding. He's not playing for us right now because we have the 6 vet stress, but his experience, his presence, his practice presence, his presence with the Black Aces has been instrumental for our group. And you have to have all those pieces if you're going to go far in the playoffs. And all these guys have been very important for us. Brett Regner, a defenseman in our back end, logs a lot of minutes. Andrew Bonachuk, who went to the finals with Manchester a few years ago. So this experience is it's outstanding, and you got to have it if you're going to make long runs.
Got less than a minute left with you here, Derek, but I want to ask you about your goaltending because Mike McKenna, look, he's been around. He's had a lot of experience. He's had a lot of success in the American Hockey League, played a little bit in the NHL. We've been talking about Marc-Andre Fleury and a .945 save percentage and how it'll be tough to beat a guy who's playing that well. And I look at the save percentage for McKenna. It's .952 through the first 9 games that he's played in. That's going to make you feel pretty confident behind the bench.
Mike's been outstanding here. He's had a great second half for us, same as Landon Bowe. When Mike was up in the NHL backing up, Landon Bowe was awesome getting us into the playoffs. But when Mike came back here, he's really taken the team over. His presence and his experience has been outstanding. If you watch him when he comes back to the bench during a TV timeout or a timeout, he's just a calm customer. And I think our team reflects his mindset of the game. The one thing about our group is we're resilient, and Mike's a resilient guy, and we just kind of take on his character as a team. And you can see his numbers and our numbers in the playoffs here has been very solid defensively. But our group just grinds it out. We just come to the rink, we play, and if we lose, we play the next day. If we win, we move on. That's just the mindset of our group, and that comes from a guy like Mike McKenna, who's had an outstanding playoff.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Derek, great catching up with you. We appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us, and best of luck here in the conference final series against Rockford.
Appreciate that, guys. Thanks, Scott, Pat.